Few are the people who don't love the movie Back to the Future. Like E.T., it's one of the more practically perfect movies to come out of my birth decade, the 80s. For sure, the dressing in the movie is all fantastic. The time machine, the sci-fi concepts, the humor, the nostalgia, and Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd's great acting. But in the end, the dressing isn't enough to make a movie great. It has to have a powerful story at its heart. And Back to the Future doesn't disappoint. Back to the Future's central story, the reason this movie touches us somewhere deep, centers around family and around story itself. Remember that Marty's present is entirely built around a crummy family story that had its formation in the past, well before Marty McFly was even born. His parents came together because his mom had felt sorry for his dad, who had always struggled with confidence, focus, and confrontation. Out of that pitiful story emerges Marty's family's pitiful present, where his dad is a disappointing pencil pusher, still avoiding confrontation by submitting to the movie's bully, Biff. Marty's mom relies on alcohol to numb herself to the fact that her husband and kids are less than would be desired. And Marty's brother and sister seem to suffer from that age-old malady that remanifests itself in at least some children of every generation, known as failure to launch. Marty, on the other hand, is the one who seems out of place, like he's living in the wrong story, the wrong reality. And indeed he is, as are so many heroes at the beginning of their journeys. To bring things into alignment, either the hero needs to change, or the world around them. And one of the marked attributes of heroes is that they're determined it's going to be the world, not them. Hence why even the time-space continuum molds itself around Marty McFly, to allow him the opportunity to bring his world into alignment with his ideals. Once Marty's in the past, we're led to believe that Marty's central purpose is to get back to the future. But the real brilliance of the movie is that he's actually fulfilling something far more epic and timeless. Through his exploits in the past, Marty is actually recrafting his family's story about themselves. The most moving parts of the movie come when Marty positions his parents to make more noble choices.
Are you okay?
And by thus doing, he essentially recrafts the family's story and rescues it from the failure of a story that would come to drive lives of failure. And once back in the present, everything has changed. Marty's dad is accomplished and successful. His parents' relationship is full of vigor, and his brother and sister are climbing ladders.
I always wear a suit to the office.
Recraft your family's story, and you alter your family's present. So why is it that I think that a present-day, real-life Hollywood director, Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther, is like fictional 80s character Marty McFly? That has to do with what both of these individuals do to their family stories. Black Panther starts out with the voice of a boy asking his father to
tell me a story.
And the mythological story that Coogler presents us with is a family story, and an ambitious one at that. Because into this family, Coogler brings all black people of African origin. 2 billion people, the movie says.
It's about 2 billion people all over the world that looks like us, but their lives are a lot harder.
All over the planet, our people suffer because they don't have the tools to fight back.
It is not our way to be judge, jury, and executioner for people who are not our own.
Not you're wrong. But didn't life start right here on this continent? So ain't all people your people?
And after bringing together that family, he presents a couple of narratives about the family. In essence, Black Panther asks, what is the best story for this family? Option 1, a story centered around oppression and payback. Nearly everyone likes Killmonger in Black Panther, played by Michael B. Jordan, because his narrative and sense of justice is believable and understandable. If the family's been oppressed in the past, resulting in a less than ideal present, then maybe it's time to use the family's hidden strength to turn the tables and give the oppressors some taste of their own medicine. Option 2. Despite the unfortunate circumstances of most of the family, the strongest members of the family would be wise to preserve their strength, keep to themselves, and ensure their own preservation. Black Panther pits these stories against each other, and in the process reveals each story's flaws, but also each story's strengths. And as the movie progresses, T'Challa, the Black Panther, learns from Killmonger, and crafts a third and better story which contains elements of both the other stories. This final story that emerges is peculiar and impressive. Despite an assumption of past oppression from people outside the family, this final family story that emerges from Black Panther doesn't place the focus of the story or the solutions for the family outside the family, like stories of oppression often do. Instead, we watch T'Challa take responsibility for both the family's failings as well as producing its own solutions.
We let the fear of our discovery stop us from doing what is right. No more. He's a monster of our own making. I must right these wrongs.
Black Panther, in essence, says that this story is about this family, and it refuses to let anyone else feature in it, either as anti-hero or hero. For me, that's the kind of family story I think leads to a successful and productive family identity. So bringing this all back to the point of this video, what I found most impressive about Black Panther in this story about stories was the meta story, the story behind the story. Because in essence, by creating this retelling of his family's story, Ryan Coogler was living out one of these archetypal heroic story arcs. Coogler is like Marty McFly. He's like Moana, to use another example. The individual who senses something out of line with their family's identity, and who goes out into the unknown and through their logos, their mind, their consciousness, literally pen and paper and a creative director's chair, in Coogler's case. They recraft their family's narrative, and by changing their family's past narrative, they can change the present. You might be saying, how could a Marvel movie, of all things, change the narrative of an entire family, especially one so grand as the one that Black Panther defines? I mean, the story is obviously not true. There's no such place as Wakanda, and it's all just mindless fictional entertainment. But to that I say, the stories are powerful, peculiar forces that work in interesting ways. Stories don't have to be true in order to have their effect on the world. I mean, most stories, even historical ones, probably aren't entirely true. And mythological ones clearly aren't true. And yet they still have their effect on the world. They shape how we see ourselves. So stories don't have to be true, but they do have to be believable. They have to line up with realities of human nature. And that's why I think the new story that Black Panther offers is going to have its due effect on the Black family, especially if other storytellers follow Coogler's lead and tell similar stories. So what's your family story? Is it one like Marty McFly's family had that kept everyone in a pattern of failure and was just waiting for somebody heroic, maybe someone like you, to recraft the family story? Or is your family story already one like this new Black Panther story, full of strength and responsibility? Our stories influence our reality. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you out in the arena.